and watch Fan2Fan Detroit. Excuse me. It was because I was learning, but god damn. It just took a while to end, and I need to spend more time with OBS making it. Oh my gosh, I got all these fucking burps in my body. I think I drank a Mountain Dew and then a sparkling water like an hour ago. So I think I'm just gonna like sound like Rick for the entirety of the show.
What I need right now is 2 TVs because I'm currently in the middle of watching 30 of the 40 seasons of Survivor. I am having it's so much fun. I'm 3 seasons in. I started it 5 days ago. I'm just started the third season.
Gosh. So you really know the value of rice right now.
Any grain, really. You're just, you're there. No, it's fun though, man. And I just sit there and I wonder how long would I make it? And I think if I knew like for 3 months that I was going to be on Survivor, right? I knew for 3 months. So I take all 3 months to get in shape.
Okay.
And like a month and a half of that while I'm getting in shape, I teach myself how to shut up just a little bit. Like I think my amount of talking would help, but I also think I need to kind of find the happy medium there.
Yeah.
And I think I could win, dude. Like I just watched season 15 and all 4 of the final 4, I would have whooped their ass. I would have whooped all of them.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing about Survivor though is it's like Big Brother in that if you're too strong of a competitor, I mean.
Right, and I don't think I'd be too strong. I think I'd be just strong enough.
I actually think you should just go exactly the way you are. I think you'd have a better chance because I think if you showed up ripped, they'd be like, "Oh fuck!"
I'm not getting ripped in 3 months. Let's throw that dream out the window.
If you showed up, if any like white guy taller than 5'9" who shows up in shape is an automatic physical threat in the eyes of a Survivor contestant. Like, unless you're a professional soccer player, there aren't a lot of like in shape builds that aren't a threat in Survivor.
You're right. Well, I already have my one line for my strategy. If I had to like give you a slogan for it, I don't want to be the manager. I want to be the assistant manager. Okay. I want to be the guy behind the guy. I control that guy. It's probably some big jock dude who's like, I'm going to win this game with my muscles. I want to be that dude's best friend. Okay. I want to trick that guy into doing whatever I tell him to do. And I think that is, I can deceive. Okay. Not that I like to deceive, but if I have to deceive, I can do it. Half of my job is deceiving and telling people I hope their meal was great when really, I don't really care about your meal. I think I'd be great at that. I think I need to try to get on Big Brother, which I'd be better at, and Survivor, and I'm going to win one of them.
Are you excited for the Big Brother All-Star season coming up?
Oh, dude.
I'm genuinely excited.
But I have a weird theory that Big Brother and Evil Dick were working together about those tweets. If nobody saw them, it's just tweets saying that there's an All-Star season coming back. Paul, a bunch of people from the past, like 5, 6, 7, 8 seasons, some legends. If that comes back, I think Evil Dick is going to be there. Don't let him fool you with tweets saying he knows about it, trying to be the bad guy, because that's his thing, and Big Brother would want to push his thing.
Big rumor, Swaggy P and what's her name are coming back. Both of them.
Like his girlfriend from that season? Oh, cool. Swaggy P was like the first one out, man, because he has a nickname. He gets to come back.
Well, it's all about that branding, dude. All about that branding.
It don't matter. As long as Paul is there, Paul is going to win. Because he's been to the finals twice, and he's lost twice because of a bitter jury. That won't happen in an All-Star season.
I think I would think that especially in an All-Star season, if you're like a big favorite coming in, that's a gigantic target on your back.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what this new season of Survivor I just started. It's half All-Stars, half big fans. And the fans won the first challenge. So I'm locked in, rooting for Ozzy. I know this happened 15 years ago, but I'm rooting for Ozzy. He should have won season 13.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us what we're doing, Andrew?
Yeah. As everybody knows, they finally set a date. I believe it was August 14th for the NBA draft. NBA lottery will be a few days before that. And the Pistons, as of right now, are lined up for the 5th pick, which gives them 42% chance to get into the top 4 and a 10.5% chance to get the number 1 pick. So 1 out of every 10 drafts, if it was based off this year's record, the Pistons will have the number 1 pick. So now we're going to do an on-air draft lottery, simulate it on Tankathon, all deep diehard draft fans know this website. You probably do it at least once a day to see where your precious Pistons are going to pick. And with the first lottery, the Detroit Pistons get the number 1 pick in the 2020 NBA draft.
Okay.
Hey man, that is all real. That was one click on the draft lottery, and the Pistons got the number 1 pick.
So the Pistons have the worst record in basketball. Is that what you said? We have the best odds?
No, we have the 5th best odds. 10% chance. 5th best odds. We were behind the Warriors, the Knicks, the Cavs, and the Timberwolves. But with this draft, so like I said, 1 out of 10, we just hit that 1 out of 10. So in this instance, if this was how the lottery worked out, the Pistons would be picking number 1. And then real quick, I'm going to go over the list, and then obviously you'll know as we go through it. But the Knicks moved up 4 spots to number 2. Cleveland fell down to number 3. San Antonio moved up 7 spots to the number 4 pick. Golden State fell down 4 spots to the number 5 pick. Minnesota fell down 3 spots to 6. Atlanta fell down 3 spots to 7. Chicago down 1 to 8. Charlotte down 1 to 9, and Washington down 1 to 10. We're only going to do the top 10 because after that, with this draft, it's just not that fun. So I'm going to do odd numbers, which means I get our Detroit Pistons with the number 1 pick. And for me, this is easy. There is one choice here. I know there's 2 other guys, maybe 3 other guys that Pistons fans are going to be interested in. But for me, it's Anthony Edwards, the shooting guard out of Georgia. Easy. You're looking at like James Harden if he had some dog in him. Oh. If James Harden just like wanted to kill you at all times, this is who it is. He's not quite as lethal with the finesse. He's not quite there, but he's got the step back. He's got a good jump shot. He didn't shoot a super high percentage in college from 3, but that's okay. We will live with that. It's going to develop. He knows how to create a shot. He knows how to get open. So with the Detroit Pistons, number 1 pick, Anthony Edwards out of Georgia. What do you think?
So I have two responses. The first response is I agree that Anthony Edwards is the best prospect in the draft. He's the biggest, I would say, closest thing that there is in this draft to a sure thing. I disagree that he's James Harden. And the main reason is I don't think that James Harden was James Harden when he was drafted. James Harden turned into James Harden. But if he's, he is the exact kind of player that the Pistons need, the best version of that player in the draft, and it definitely has some kind of Rodney Stuckey potential to play 2 guard positions, combo guard. Do I dare say the cursed word combo guard? Well,
10 years ago, I would have probably yelled at you for saying that with a guy like this because it was the Rodney Stuckeys of the world. It was the Lance Stevensons of the world, right? The guys you don't really want. When you watch them, you're like, oh, that guy's a good player, but they're never anything more than that. In the modern NBA, the more positions you can play and the more positions you can defend specifically, the more valuable you are. You no longer have to be a pure passer. You no longer have to be a pure shooter. You no longer have to be a pure post player. You can be good at a lot of things and great at few things to be a really, really, really good NBA player in today's age, which is new as of probably about the last 5 years. So I think, and I agree with you that Harden wasn't Harden when he came out of Arizona State into the league. He developed into that. But that's what gets me so excited about Anthony Edwards is he reminds me of young 6th man OKC Harden right now. He reminds me of that guy who's not super efficient, who, Harden used to be like a really hardworking guy when he was on the court, really understood his role. But you always knew he had the potential to one day be a 25-plus point per game guy. And that's what I see with Edwards. It's never going to be 52% shooting and 43% from 3. But it could be 25 points on 45% from the field and 36% from 3 on high volume, but with really good defense. He has the potential for that defense. He's a workhorse. If you want to sprinkle in a little bit of Jimmy Butler in there, I'm not mad at you for doing that. He's just, to me, he's so far above and away everybody else in this draft as far as the ceiling goes, because it's really simple in basketball. If you want to win an NBA championship, your best player has to be one of the best scorers in the league. If you look at the last decade and more than that, but specifically the last decade, every team that has won has had one of the best scorers in the league, whether it's Steph Curry, whether it's Kevin Durant, whether it's LeBron James, whether it's Kawhi Leonard. Okay, the only team that maybe you can slide out of that would be the 14 Spurs. But even then, I mean, they still had Duncan, Ginobili, Parker, Kawhi, Danny Green. That team was so unbelievably stacked. More stacked now than we realized at the time. But you need that top guy. And sure, there's Killian, who I think is going to be great. I love Killian Hayes. And sure, there's LaMelo Ball, who I'm actually starting to come around on a little bit as the time goes on. But I don't see either of those guys ever averaging 25 points a game or more. Even I don't see LaMelo ever averaging 20 points a game. He might come close. I think he'll sniff it a few times, but I think that's about his ceiling. So I want alpha dog. I want the guy who's going to take over games, put his foot down, and say, "This is my game. I'm winning this shit right now."
We'll talk about LaMelo Ball, I'm sure, at some point here. I mean, there's no way to go to the top 10, but Anthony Edwards, I think pretty consensus number 1 draft pick. Draft with a lot of question marks. Who did you say number 2? Who did I have everybody but the number 2 pick?
You got the New York Knicks. You are picking for the Knickerbockers. So what are you? Who are you convincing James Dolan is the best fit in New York?
So I'm not James Dolan. I'm convincing James Dolan.
You work for James Dolan.
Great. Then it's LaMelo Ball.
It has to be. It has to be for the Knicks, right? Yeah. Like if you're Chicago or if you're San Antonio, who moves up a ton of spots, you're probably not taking LaMelo Ball number 2. But if you're the New York Knicks and you're the New York Knicks GM and you know you got to bring a guy to James Dolan, 1, you're worried about job security because it's the number 2 pick. This is going to make or break you. And 2, the actual potential of this guy to mix with what James Dolan probably sees as his potential. It's got to be LaMelo, right?
Yeah, I don't think that you can convince James Dolan to take Killian Hayes at 2, and I don't think that you can convince him to take Tyrese Halliburton, who I think is just a lower tier prospect. LaMelo brings the star power, the New York markets, the blah blah blah, all that stuff, right? It just kind of makes a lot of sense that a high profile player would go to a high profile team in a position of need, I guess. You know, we have differing opinions, I think, on the Knicks guards in general, but he definitely fits. I don't think they want a center, you know?
Yeah, and the Knicks just straight up ignore positions. They should be taking who the best player is available, as long as he's not a power forward. Like, don't go out and take Obi Toppin because you don't need an 11th power forward.
Obi Toppin going second would that be more or less crazy than Anthony Edwards going first?
More crazy. I just don't think – I think Anthony Edwards should be the number 1 pick, so maybe it's a little biased.
Not Anthony Edwards. Anthony Bennett, sorry.
Oh, much less. Anthony Bennett was projected to go anywhere between like 8 and 12. And that everybody felt like that was a little bit generous because you could just see he just was kind of out of shape and not super athletic and he couldn't shoot very well, but he was the best player on a UNLV team, so –
what do you think? What does LaMelo Ball look like as a player 5 years from now?
Yeah, so that's where the intrigue is with him, right? Because rookie year, you might get a guy similar to rookie year Lonzo, probably a little bit worse. And I hate comparing brothers, but it really is just the best comparison for him.
Yeah.
But as you move forward, what you're really hoping for is a guy who can be one of the top 5 passers in the league. He has the IQ, he has the vision. The decision making needs some work, but when he's on his game, he's one of the best passers I've seen in the last few drafts. Where you really want to see him improve is his scoring. As we were talking about earlier, I don't think you can win a title if your top guy isn't putting up 23 at minimum 23 points a game. So you want to see him develop into a guy who can shoot off the dribble, who can hit some step backs, who is going to put on some weight. He's 6'7", which is great. He's got great size, but he's going to have to put on some weight to be in the NBA because you can't only attack the rim with length in the NBA. We've seen a ton of long, skinny guys who didn't work out. So you're really just going to want to see a guy who can hopefully shoot 35% from 3, and that'll be a few years down the road. I don't want anybody watching high school videos of Melo and thinking he's going to come in pulling up from half court. His rookie year, he'll probably be taking 1, maybe 2 3-pointers a game. He is not a good shooter right now. Not great and not even good. So you got to hope that develops. If everything goes perfect, I mean absolutely perfect for LaMelo Ball, he is a skinnier Ben Simmons with a jump shot, right? He's that guy. He's
I think
6'7".
I think everything going well for LaMelo Ball, like 100th percentile, best version of his career. He becomes kind of a light Giannis kind of thing. Like kind of a Giannis adjacent, but much worse. I don't think that ceiling is possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're looking at like what I think like a prime, if he reaches his ceiling, right, I think LaMelo could be like an 18, 10, and 5 guy. Putting up 10 assists, one of the best passers in the league, a good 18. He's not going to be shooting too much, and then coming in with rebounds when you need him because he is 6'7". People seem to forget that because he, grew 6 inches over the last year and a half.
I actually think he makes a lot of sense for the Knicks too in that backcourt. I think he's playing with either Dennis Smith Jr. or Frank Ntilikina, and he kind of makes sense adjacent to both those guys at the same time.
Yeah, and you can't like. Why are you going to take Wiseman at number 2 if you're the Knicks, right? Why are you going to take Killian? As much as I like Killian and I like him more than Melo, I can very easily see how somebody can look at Melo and say, that guy's got the best potential in this draft. His potential is through the roofs. It's just the fact that his floor is also dug 15 stories underground and protected from bombs in that bunker. He could be a really bad NBA player. That is possible.
If you play his career 10 times, I think there's probably at least one version of that where he's out of the league in 5 years.
Yeah, I would agree 100%.
But I as the last couple months and we've been watching tape because there's nothing else to do, I also have kind of become much more intrigued by LaMelo Ball.
Yeah.
Draft full of risk. There's risk everywhere in this draft.
Right. And that's why you feel comfortable taking him at 2, right? It's because no matter who you take at 2, even if you take Killian or Wiseman or Denny Avdija, whoever it may be, you are taking in a ton of risk. And the reward is probably going to be a little bit lower than that risk. So go for it, right? Just especially if you're the Knicks, go for it.
All right. Who you got at 3?
3, the Cleveland Cavaliers, a man I just talked about. It's funny. I have been off this bandwagon for months, and I saw a 58-second clip of Denny Avdija today.
What?
A 58-second clip. And I was like, oh, my God, he put on 20 pounds of muscle, and he's moving, and he's doing all these things. I still am not all the way bought in. Don't get me wrong. He shot 50% from the free throw line. He didn't shoot very good from 3, but the way that dude can move at 6'8", he's not jumping out the gym, but he's quick and he's slithery and he knows how to get around a basketball court. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers take him at number 3, and very possibly do the Cleveland Cavaliers absolutely screw up another top 3 pick. But if I see Cleveland picking 3, I know in my head that's who they're taking. I know it's
so. I think that pick makes sense for a few reasons. The Cavs have picked a lot of foreign players over the year. I feel like they've had a few of them. I've been more in the Denny Avdija bandwagon than you up until just now, I guess. I think he projects as exactly what you're looking for. He's a forward of some position, maybe. Runs the floor well, plays gnarly defense. Like he's a little raw, right? I mean, he's a 18-year-old, 19-year-old playing in Tel Aviv, so he's playing in Israel right now. But that team that he plays for is one of those like Champions League teams that plays against like Olympiacos and Barcelona and that kind of stuff. That team's actually good. I like it.
Yeah, my only problem, I know, right? My only problem with him right now is what is the ceiling? Where is the very tip top of that ceiling? Because I think the floor is pretty high, kind of the opposite of LaMelo, but I think that ceiling isn't incredibly high. If he ends up being a guy who is scoring 16 a game, grabbing 7 rebounds and getting 4 assists, and he's the 3rd best player on your team, I almost think that you have to be okay with that, even at the number 3 pick, because I don't see he's not scoring 25. He's not getting 10 rebounds. He's not getting 8 assists. He's not competing for all defensive teams. He's not doing any of that. But he could be a very solid part of a core for a very long time. I
disagree with your assessment of his defensive potential.
I think he's got defensive potential. I just don't think he's got the potential to be an all-NBA defender. And the biggest reason I think is he's 6'8" with a 6'9" wingspan, right? He's going to be going up against guys who are 6'8" with 7'1" wingspans and just bigger, stronger, faster guys. And as much as your technique and your IQ and your understanding of NBA offenses might be, when you just aren't there physically, it's pretty impossible to be that great of a defender.
Okay. I like that. So you'd say he's going to be a good team defender.
Yes. Right.
So number 4, San Antonio.
I'm excited for this one because you are a Spurs guy. We've had this argument every year we've known each other. I'm always like, Spurs are going under 500. The dynasty's over. And you're like, no, they're not. And I finally got you this year.
The number one thing if you're the Spurs is you got to make sure this guy can play with LaMarcus Aldridge.
No, get out of here with anything LaMarcus Aldridge. If the Spurs even consider anything about LaMarcus Aldridge with the number 4 pick, that dynasty is down the tubes.
So I actually was thinking that I'd be able to take Denny Avdija here. That kind of was, I think, a pick that makes a lot of sense if the Spurs are in the position to draft him. You know, they love these Euro guys. But one of the all-time greatest Spurs happened to be a young French point guard named Tony Parker. And I think that they will take another young French point guard with Killian Hayes, who was exactly the kind of player that the Spurs take. And then everybody's like, oh, I can't believe the Spurs got that guy. It just feels super classic Spurs for them to end up with Killian Hayes or something like that somehow.
Yeah. If they found a way to magically boost up this lottery and pick number 4 and Killian Hayes is sitting there waiting for them and they don't take him, that would blow my mind because I don't think there's a more perfect fit in this draft than Killian Hayes to the San Antonio Spurs to be able to learn and play under Greg Popovich. It's just the easy pick. And it makes me sad because I was hoping I was going to get to take him with one of my even number or odd number picks. But San Antonio adding Killian Hayes to like kind of what I think they'd be hoping for is you get DeMar DeRozan, you get LaMarcus Aldridge for another year. Maybe you're okay for another year after that. But then Killian Hayes is there for a reboot. Not a full rebuild, no tank job in San Antonio, but Killian Hayes leads that next generation of what they hope to be another dynasty starting 6-7 years from now because it's not going to be quick. It won't be the next day.
I think Killian Hayes is a guy who's going to need a year or two, and we see this all the time. It needs to be practically factored in with young point guards that you're not going to see what they really are until the 3rd year. It just takes a while, man. Sometimes it takes longer. You know, and I actually think that might be the only thing going against Anthony Edwards is I think that, like, as a rookie, he's probably going to have a pretty tough adjustment in the NBA, I think, to start. But, yeah, I like this pick. I'm very happy with it. So the 5th pick, you have Golden State. What are you thinking?
Yeah, this is the second easiest pick in the draft. You have Steph Curry, you have Klay Thompson, you have Draymond Green. If Denny Avdija was still here, maybe you'd consider him. But shore up that center position. Go get you the best rebounder in the draft, maybe the best interior defender in the draft of James Wiseman. Now, the defense, the effort needs a little bit of work, but that's pretty common with 19-year-old 7-footers. It just seems to be an issue that they have. But the Warriors have what they have here is a luxury pick, right? And we all know that. We all have known that since the 3rd week of last season when Steph Curry broke his hand, that they were going to have this luxury pick in the lottery. Now, it sucks for them that they fell down to 5, but I think they'd get right here at least the same guy that they would get at number 1. You shore up the rebounding, you shore up the interior defense, and you let the guys who have been there do what they do. Because the good part about this pick is James Wiseman's not going to need a year. Not on the Warriors. James Wiseman will step in on day 1 and be a 10-10 guy. Probably nothing super, way higher than that, 12-10, 10-10, something along those lines. But he fills what has been the biggest hole for Golden State throughout this entire dynasty. He does everything they need him to do. And the idea of them getting a dominant offensive rebounder to go and grab everything that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson miss and to have Draymond Green throw lobs to all day. I mean, we saw Andrew Bogut become a reliable lob threat with Draymond Green on the court. James Wiseman would be DeAndre Jordan in the beginning of the Lob City years. I mean, that's really what they're looking for. And I think they get that at least. I think that's at least what you get with James Wiseman. Now, for most of the other teams in this lottery, or in this top 5 at least, I wouldn't even consider James Wiseman because you're never winning a title with a center as your best or second best player unless they're Anthony Davis or somebody along those lines, a big guy like that who can do everything. And Wiseman might eventually be able to do a little bit of everything, but he's never going to be a 40% three-point shooter. He's never going to be taking 5 3-pointers a game. And we might have thought that when he was a junior in high school, but we know now that it's just not the case. So for the Warriors, you go Wiseman, easy, and all of a sudden, I think going into next year, you become the favorite to win the title again, just because of James Wiseman. Without him, I don't think you are. With him, I think you are.
I agree with you. James Wiseman's going to be, I think, another guy who he's a pretty raw prospect. I mean, he didn't play college basketball.
Right, 4 games or whatever.
And then he got unceremoniously suspended, I believe.
Suspended and fined. The NCAA wanted him to pay them, mind you.
Ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, suspending him is one thing because rules are rules, but like fining him as a college player, I don't want to go down this road, dude. We'll spend 10 minutes in this cul-de-sac trying to find a way out.
You're right.
Let's move on to the 6th pick, Minneapolis, who I think is kind of in a weird position. If I'm Minneapolis, the one thing that I really need right now is probably just a guy who's good to be in that locker room and kind of be out of the way almost, I feel like. I'm going to say that Obi Toppin for them. I'm going to take Obi Toppin. Hard-working, fast, athletic rim runner. Played for a really good college team that we don't really know what the ceiling of that team was, but that Dayton team was pretty wild.
Oh yeah.
They were really good. So I like them taking what I feel like is a guy who's guaranteed to be an NBA player, but I would say not guaranteed to be anything else.
The thing I love about if Minnesota was to take Obi Toppin would be, look at the shooting on that team afterwards. You have perhaps the best shooting center in basketball in Karl Anthony Towns. You have one of the best shooters in basketball in D'Angelo Russell. And then all of a sudden you had a guy like Obi Toppin who can shoot from anywhere on the court, 16 feet, 20 feet, beyond if he has to. Now it does the opposite of that effect for the defense. They become one of the best shooting and maybe one of the best offensive teams in basketball soon in the years following. But he is equally as bad at defense as the rest of the guys on that team. So your plan is to basically turn into the 7 seconds or less Suns, right? You got your Amari, you got your Joe Johnson and Toppin, and you got your Steve Nash, I guess, and D'Angelo Russell, just modern day comparison, I guess. But you're hoping to turn into a running gun, let's win 130 to 125 type modern NBA team. I don't know if it'll work, but it'll at least be a very, very fun team to watch with 3 different guys that I think once Obi reaches his prime could go for 30 at any point, just at any given time.
They just really need some positive locker room vibes in Minnesota, I think, more than anything right now. So yes. I also, there's just not a lot of guys I feel like that fit what Minnesota really needs right now. I think you can make an argument for Isaac Okoro, but I don't know.
Go boom or bust. If you're Minnesota, go boom or bust, right? Why not? Because if this pick, if the next 2 years don't work out, Cat's gone, D'Lo's gone, and you're restarting again as Minnesota. So just go for it. And if that's Obi Toppin or if that's Tyrese Haliburton, whoever it may be, just go for it. Whoever you think has the absolute highest ceiling, forget the floor. Whoever has the absolute highest ceiling, the guy who could turn your franchise around, a franchise that has been in the dumps since Kevin Garnett left. Like 1 or 2 playoff appearances. Just had to lose their former number 1 overall pick that they traded for in Andrew Wiggins to get D'Lo, sure, but he didn't work out. I mean, they've done so much wrong that they really they got to get it figured out. And that takes a home run swing. That takes a power swing. You might miss the ball, but if you barrel it up, it's going for a 50.
I think that's a fun team next year. It's definitely an interesting one, which is more than what they've had.
Yeah, I would. They'd be on my league pass list for sure.
Who are you taking for Atlanta?
Atlanta's where it gets interesting, right?
It is a weird pick for Atlanta.
Because Atlanta kind of got screwed in the lottery last year when they were supposed to pick, I believe, 3 and 5, and ended up picking 6 and 10. So they have, DeAndre Brembry, and they have Trae Young and Cam Reddish, and even still young Scalabissiere, and the still hopeful Kevin Huerter. So you have the young talent. And you have the top piece, that guy you need, right? That offensive just master who can go get 30 points a game. But what is the best fit with him? This is where I think the Hawks could make their team really interesting because they kind of do have too many guards and forwards right now and need a big guy. But that guy's not here for you. He's not here waiting. If James Wiseman's off the board, I could see you going with James Wiseman if he was still here. That would make sense. But I think you want to find the perfect pairing with Trae Young. And you were hoping to find that last year with Bembry, and you didn't do it. I know it's only been 1 year, but I think we all know he's not going to be a star, right? He could very well be a contributing member on a good NBA team in the rotation, but he's not going to be an all-star. So if I'm the Hawks right here, I'm going Tyrese Haliburton. And I'm making him and Young the 1 and 2. He's 6'5" with a 6'11" wingspan. He can play and defend the 2, right? He can shoot the 3. He shot 41% in college last year, even though people want to say that's his biggest problem, which fine. If that's his biggest problem, cool. He's got a chance to be an all-NBA level defender. So all of a sudden you look at it and it's like, oh, when Steph couldn't guard the guy, what'd they do? They switched Clay over there and they moved Steph. So now when Trae Young can't guard a guy, what are they going to do? They're going to switch the 6'11" wingspan over 2 steals per game in college, Tyrese Haliburton, and put him on the best guard. It almost creates the perfect 1-2 punch for the Hawks on offense. And although not perfect on defense, the best 1-2 punch I think they could hope for coming out of this draft. Because it gives you switchability. It allows you to hide Trae Young, which is what you're going to have to do for the next 15 years if you're the Hawks, is hide Trae Young at all times.
I think that Tyrese Haliburton makes a lot of sense as the Klay Thompson to his Steph Curry. Right. I mean, that's what you're going for. If that's what your pick is, you're looking at it and you're going, we want to do a version of that. That's, there's not a lot of stuff that they need. Again, with respects to Isaac Okoro, who almost might make sense, kind of, maybe. I don't know where he'd fit, but
he'd make more sense if they didn't have the draft they had last year, right? Because that's another high ceiling, low floor guy, and you're just trying to take a guy who you know has the best chance to be really good, but has a lesser chance to be really bad.
Yeah, it's tough because I almost feel like Atlanta could trade down, but that's not what they're doing. They're not in a trade down place. But the team that's up next, I feel like might also be kind of eyeing that sort of thing. The Chicago Bulls, a team with a whole bunch of pieces that maybe are corner pieces, maybe are middle pieces, maybe are from a different puzzle altogether. Kind of in a weird place, kind of got some good players, but I don't think anybody that they're like ultra maybe attached to. It seems like they maybe have a point guard, and I would say Lauri Markkanen is something, I don't know what. So I'm gonna take a shot here, and I'm gonna take Onyeka Ngakwu from the center from USC, 6'9", 19, super raw, projects as a kind of a modern style center. Another, what's the floor, what's the ceiling kind of guy, and this draft is just chock full of them. But throw a dart. See what
the Bulls do there is they now have 4 positions that are filled with guys who are either going to be the future or they're going to be a really good trade chip at some point. I think the only guy right now who's absolutely locked into that Bulls roster for the next 5 years is Kobe White. LaVine could go and Markkanen could go at any time. When Markkanen first got there, obviously everybody thought he was going to be a star, and I still think he's going to be really good, but I don't think anybody's expecting, one of the best power forwards in the league.
LaVine is a weird example for me because I feel like it was pretty unanimous. Everybody in the draft was like, he's going at like 8, but we feel like he's not that good. Every draft person that I read said the same thing, and it still happened. And just by like being a good forward, it feels like he's almost somehow surpassed expectations. So I don't really know what I feel like Markkanen's going to look like in a year or two. I mean, he might be gone.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the beautiful part about this Bulls roster, I think, is that teams like to stock up their war chest with draft picks. Instead of that, they've stocked up their war chest with guys like Zach LaVine, who he averaged 25 points per game last year, but we all know he's not winning you too many basketball games. If the New York Knicks come calling for Zach LaVine, you're getting paid for a 25-point per game scorer. You're not getting paid for the guy who won't win you basketball games. If somebody like the Suns came called for Lauri Markkanen, you're getting overpaid for that guy. So then this gives you 4 positions with guys like that. You have it at point guard, shooting guard, power forward, and center. And then you have to fill what it is, in my opinion, the most important position in basketball, the small forward position. So what it does is it gives them options, and it gives them a future that doesn't really have room to go down. They're either going to be where they're at or going up for the next X amount of years until they really get it figured out. It kind of stretches out the time frame necessary to build a contender. Normally you have 5 years to figure it out. From once you get that first guy, you have the next 4 years after that to figure out what the roster around him is going to be. Go look at LeBron. I know you got like 7 years with him back in the day. Those top guys, you get 7. But anything less than the max contract guys, you have 5 years to figure it out. And this stretches that closer to the 6 or 7 number because you have the 4 important positions that really you don't know what you're going to get out of them. You don't know what the finished product for any of those positions are going to be. So shoot, again, another team in this draft, just go for it. Go for the best player on your board who has the highest ceiling, because what do you got to lose? Nobody left on the board is going to be an MVP candidate, at least we think, right? Who knows? There might be a Giannis or a Paul George that sneaks in somewhere. But there's not going to be one of those guys probably at all in this draft, let alone at 8 or 9. So I love that pick. I just think it gives them all the flexibility in the world for the next couple of years.
Who do you like for Charlotte?
Charlotte. So how is Michael Jordan going to screw this one up? Should be the question, right?
I don't think that there's any like high, like 7-foot white guys from blue blood colleges around in this draft. So I feel like he's going to have to do something weird. So
what I think he's going to do is fall in love with the forgotten man. And the forgotten man is RJ Hampton, okay? Came out of high school, was one of the top prospects in the country, and decided to go over to New Zealand to play basketball, okay? This dude's a freak. Everybody's just forgotten about him. And it's because he's kind of been quiet, collecting money, doing his thing. Sure, he was a little underwhelming overseas, but he was 18 years old. He's still a 6'5" guard who's really good, who's going to develop a jump shot, who's athletic, who can play some defense. He's got a lot to work on. But he is very much one of those guys right now who I think he's getting held back or falling down the draft boards, because I've seen him as low as like 16. He's getting held back by the fact that he's good at a lot of things, but he's not great at anything, or really even close to great at anything. He's like barely good at mostly everything. But the potential is still there. He's got an NBA body. He's got NBA skills, in my opinion. He's got NBA confidence. His confidence is through the roof. And he's coming in. He's been a professional for a year, which I think is important. These guys who play overseas, they've had to act like and be a professional for a full year. Well, these other guys are just leaving college parties and, doing everything they've done their whole lives. They still have done up until draft night, pretty much. So they, these overseas guys have a year advantage on maturity, maybe not on the court, but off the court. And I think that'll help him a ton. And I think this is the exact type of guy Michael Jordan falls in love with. But let me tell you, he might hit on this one. I think this is the draft sleeper. This is the guy who could go outside of the top 5 that could turn into something incredibly special down the line. So Charlotte Hornets, RJ Hampton from I believe his team name is the New Zealand Breakers or something like that. So
it's that team that's owned by the Barstool guys.
Yeah. So RJ Hampton, that's my pick. That's easy for me. I think he should be going higher, but everybody's forgotten about him. And I know I might get killed online for that one, but it's all right.
I don't know, dude. I kind of like you planting a flag somewhere like that. I think that's an interesting pick. Because when you said the forgotten man, I thought you were going to say Cole Anthony, but I like this more. I like the guys who are already professionals have a year on maturity angle. I think that's. I wonder if there's some truth to that, because I think we've seen it go both ways with the Euro guys. But I mean, you look at Giannis and you look at Luka, the 2 high-profile Euro guys we've had. Certainly seems that way.
Yeah, I mean, Giannis walks around with a notebook and literally takes notes of everything everybody says to him so he can learn from it from the future. Luka, sure, he's known to have maybe a hamburger or 2 every once in a while, but he's also known as a very hard worker. Like a very hard worker. You don't get that good that young without going in and working hard every day. So I think that is something that carries over because they've already been the rookie. You know what I'm saying? They've been the guy at the bottom of the totem pole.
Those are my least favorite stories. The Luka Doncic likes hamburgers. Yeah, you know who else this is a Chris Rock joke. You know who else likes hamburgers? Everybody. Certain
that's expectations.
Like Matt Patricia was like late to meetings and it became like a page 1 sports story in the Detroit Free Press. Stop with that. Stop it.
Because he was probably rolling in at 8:02.
Better, everybody.
8 o'clock meeting.
So Washington is the 10th pick here. And Washington, what do they need? Like just warm bodies,
Yeah, I mean,
another team where it's just you got to take the guy who's the highest up on your board.
Maybe the team that could benefit the most from jumping up into the top 5.
Sure, like a deal with the Bulls, maybe swapping back for something, and like a weird sign and trade involving like Bertans or something. I don't know.
Yep.
I think that there's really only, I'm looking at like a big board here and I see maybe 2 guys who I think make sense, maybe 3, depending on how you feel about some of those wings that are a little further down the list. But I think you just got to take the best player available, and the best player available on our board is Isaac Okoro. That's a team where in a year they could have either John Wall or Bradley Beal or both or neither. And I could be convinced that all of those are possible. So would it make sense to take a guard? Maybe. Yeah, you could talk me into taking Tyrese Maxey. But I think Rui Hachimura is probably your 4. So let's team him up with somebody who can run the floor with those guys and Isaac Okoro.
I like it. I'd probably go Cole Anthony because if I'm the Wizards, my biggest thing for the next 365 days is find a way to get John Wall the hell out of here. Not that we don't love John Wall in DC, none of those things, but that contract is the worst contract maybe in sports right now. He's coming off injuries. It's been 2 years almost since we've seen him in an NBA game. It's going to be, by the time we do see him, it's going to be a full 2 years since we've seen him in a game. So worst case scenario, you have a year for Cole Anthony to play under a really high IQ and smart NBA player in John Wall, learn from him, and then hopefully replace him the next year. I do like the Isaac Okoro pick, though. Washington, man, just kind of in the land of mediocrity and stuck there forever unless they can get an absolute haul for Bradley Beal. Which they will, but let's make sure they don't mess it up first.
I don't know why. I just feel like they're so fucking dead set on not trading either one of those guards.
I just don't see how Washington builds a team around Beal that can win before he's 32 years old.
Okay, yeah, I was waiting for that part.
Sure, I mean, if you do everything perfect, because you're going to, at worst, if you have Bradley Beal playing 70 games a year, at worst, you're winning 25, probably 23, and getting like the 5th, 6th, 7th pick. So it's kind of where the Pistons have been with Andre Drummond and Blake Griffin. And we picked 8th like 4 years in a row earlier this decade. Like, that's where the Wizards are right now. You don't want to be there. It is purgatory in the NBA, and you will be stuck there until you decide to be bad. Because you can't be there and decide to be good, but you can be there and decide to be bad. And that's what they need to do.
Sports Illustrated, stop putting so many fucking ads on your website. I just was trying to get to like a big board just to make sure I had everything in front of me, and I had to click through like 5 ads. Sports Illustrated, be better.
Did anybody screw up missing the internet more in all of sports media than Sports Illustrated?
Oh my gosh, yes. No, I mean, no, nobody screwed up harder. I agree with you.
They just wanted to stay a magazine forever, and they're literally like, their website is equivalent to like what the Free Press's website was in 2010.
Did you read Sports Illustrated for kids when you were younger, or were you
occasionally
somehow too far apart?
Yeah, no, occasionally I did. I had a couple posters.
Sports Illustrated for kids reader. Yeah. Everyone for like 10 years, I think. Maybe not that long.
I wasn't a devoted reader. That was my problem. You're a devoted reader. I'm not a devoted reader. I'm a better listener than reader.
But in classic my reading habits, it wasn't. I was reading like the news. I wasn't reading.
Oh, dude, trust me. I can picture 6-year-old Parker there sitting in a couch, lazy boy chair that's too big for him with his legs crossed and his glasses on.
Yeah, a little COVID roundup. So
yeah.
So baseball, let's check in with the insanity that is baseball CBA negotiations. How's that feeling for you right now?
For the first time, the owners have like a little bit of leverage in the argument for who's the bigger dickhead. And they still aren't winning that argument, by the way. They just finally have an argument to make back. And that's because they offered 60 games of full prorated salary. You get paid the full amount for every game you play. You can opt out. You can do whatever you need. And the players said, no, we need 70 games. So I get it from the players. You want to make as much of your contract as you can.
Okay.
But then the owners came back and said, you pissed us off. We're not throwing a counter proposal out there, which, by the way, is like the 6th time either one of these sides have said they're not putting a counter proposal in.
Okay.
Which is where I get lost, because the owners are going to make an extra 10 games of money. The players are going to make an extra 10 games of money. Who loses in that situation? Now where I get lost from the other side is players. It's 10 games. Just accept the deal. This is the first time I've said that, right? I've always been on the get your money, get your money,
Yep.
get your money. But they're offering you your money. They're offering you your money. They just don't want to play into December, especially with COVID, because then they're not going to be able to finish the season. Because once October rolls around, it's going to get really ugly. It's going to be ugly come October. But once October rolls around, from everything I've read and heard from medical experts, and I don't claim to be one, is that the cold weather coming back is going to make it very bad again. They want to get the season over as quickly as possible, and I get that. So just accept the 60 games. I want to see baseball so bad. Please.
Now it's like getting personal. You know what I mean? The negotiations have become personal. Now it's you've been an asshole to me for so long, and now you're still being an asshole to me, and now you want my favor? Screw you. And I agree that this is the first point where now the owners have the smallest amount of high ground. But yeah, I don't know. I agree with you. I just agree with you the whole way through.
So here's the part, if we're going off baseball a little bit and talking about everything else. Yeah. Here's the part where it gets tricky. It's starting to look like there's a pretty good chance we're not going to see any sports. And that includes the NBA, that's already agreed on a deal. That includes the NHL, which has already agreed on a deal. But if you look, I'm just going to list off some things that have happened in the last 3 days, I think. At least 30 LSU football players are quarantined right now. Kansas State shut down all football workouts after multiple positive tests. Dr. Fauci said he thinks football would basically be impossible because of the close proximity and the fact that you will have 100 players out there. MLB teams shut down all team facilities the other day for cleaning after multiple positive tests. I got another Bleacher Report update today that said 40 different players and staff members of MLB teams have tested positive after today's tests. Florida, where the NBA wants to play, has broken their previous record high in cases 7 out of the last 10 days. And it's just going to get worse. We're still a month and 10 days away from an NBA season. That's a month and 10 days for this. It's a snowball, man. More people get sick. That leads to more people getting sick. And it branches out everywhere it goes. One person gets 3 people sick. Then all 3 of those people get 3 people sick. It just seems like if we wait too long, we're not going to get sports. And I'm starting to think I'm stuck in the spot where I just don't think we're getting anything till like next year.
Yeah. I think basketball, they're going to try no matter what. I know everybody's kind of with basketball talking a big game, but I think that when it comes down to it, that basketball will happen in some capacity. Baseball, I also think will still somehow happen. I think that we won't probably see a full of whatever anybody is planning. Football, it makes sense to me that football is having some real problems, right? I mean, it's a sport where the whole thing is touching people.
And there's just so many people. There's 20 coaches per team. There's 53 players per team. There's going to be media there. Even with nobody in the stands, there's going to be 200 plus people on that field probably.
Yeah. If I were a college football player in a college football team, I just don't know how college sports justifies happening right now. To me, that's the one where you can't. The thing that I yell about every week is that there's no union for college athletes in the same way that there is for professional athletes. And especially not college football and basketball players, who I think are the two who would probably need something like that. And college football you're really putting lives at risk for people who are really playing for an education. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get how you ask these kids to put their lives and their family lives at risk to play football for free. It just doesn't make sense. But anyways,
yeah.
I just wanted to get everybody caught up on what's going on in the sports world with this, because everything looks like it's still in the air. For a little bit, it seemed like we were getting everything back to normal and we were going to see sports and these things were going to happen. But now we're not so sure. I don't want to spend too long talking about it because I know we've all been hearing about it strictly. Pretty much that's it for 4 months, but let's go.
Let's move past it.
I got a fun question for you.
Okay.
out of the 4 Detroit teams, who I think we are about to go on 3 for 3 in really good off seasons, and if the Red Wings can have a good draft or whatever
The Red Wings
NHL does
for the first pick, or did get the first pick today.
Oh, is the lottery today?
Draft. Yeah, let me.
That's my computing noise. If anybody was running, I'll do it again.
Boop, 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 boop. I think it's tonight.
Well, if they do, if we could go 4 for 4 on great off seasons, because we're 2.5 for 3 right now. The Tigers still have some things they're going to have to do. The Pistons still have some things they're going to have to do. The offseason really hasn't started, but, it's looking like it's going to follow a nice path. Who is the first Detroit team that breaks this drought and wins a title for this city?
The Tigers are the only one that I think is within potentially 5 years of that happening. Yeah. And honestly, talent-wise, I think the team with the potential for the best season this year is the Lions.
Easy. That's
who I think could win 9 or 10 games if a couple things break right. But I think that winning a title in football is very different from having a really good season. I mean, I guess that's true of any sport, but I think it could be the Tigers, where in baseball it feels like you can just get it all together for 1 year. Everybody peaks at the right moment and win a title. Get hot at the right time.
Yeah, and I'm kind of, you are pretty firm with the Tigers, but I can tell there's a little bit of Lions in the back of your mind that you don't want to let out.
It's the same old Lions thing that holds me back from saying the Lions.
Right.
I've been hurt too many times, and I'm reacting irrationally.
I think I'm in the same boat as you. I'd pick the Tigers. But there is that little part of me that would want to pick the Lions because they are the best team in the city right now. No doubt about it. They have the most talent in the city right now. The Tigers have the most future talent in the city. They have what will hopefully one day in the next 5 years be the best rotation in baseball. They have 2 of the top 10 hitting prospects in baseball. They have the future that could lead to a dominant team for a long period of time. Where the Lions, if something like that was to happen, you'd have to hope for a 9-10 win season, win the wild card, do whatever you do, and then Matthew Stafford just goes absolutely bananas in the playoffs. It'd have to be when the Ravens won with Joe Flacco, that type of thing going on. But this defense obviously is nowhere close to that, but Matthew Stafford's better than Flacco. So I'd say the Tigers. That's the one I have the most confidence in, but I will not count out the Lions just because of history as the team to do it. I refuse to do that because history has nothing to do with future in sports.
I respect that your argument is the folly of youth. I'm good with that. I will say I actually talked to a Red Wings fan today specifically, because I just wanted to know what was going on. And I think that we might be discounting the Red Wings. It sounds like they're the odds-on favorite to get the number 1 pick tonight. And the kid who they're picking, who is projected to be the number 1 player, is supposed to be very great. And they also have a pretty good core of young players, it sounds like. They're bad, but they're closer maybe, I think, than we realize because we don't follow hockey as close as we should.
Yeah, and, Steve
I just wanted to say that. I just want to say that for hockey people. We love you, hockey people.
We do. We try, okay?
There's only so much time in the day and RAM in my brain.
And just a little extra spice for that, Stevie Y is running the team. Okay, he's done it in Tampa. We got to hope he can do it here. I know he took a big risk in last year's draft. He took a guy at 6, I believe, who most people saw going about 15. But after that first year of minor league hockey, from everything I heard, he's looking great. So I believe in Stevie Y. I believe in the Red Wings. And it is, you can win a title as an 8 seed in hockey. Can't win a title as an 8 seed in basketball. Yep. So I won't discount the Red Wings either. I think the only team we can pretty much rip off this piece of paper and throw away is the Pistons. Because if everything went perfect, if they drafted LeBron James 2.0 next year, they're 7 years away from a title. So it's it's going to be a long stretch for them without a title. Hopefully it'll be this generation, this era that can do it, but we'll see. Let's be honest with each other. It's Detroit.
The Pistons have, in my opinion, over the last 2 years, consistently acted like a franchise moving in the right direction. They just hired a guy from the OKC system to be the assistant GM, and that's a team that's, I think, from a front office perspective, been very good over the last couple of years. Could be a good hire.
Yeah, I mean, the OKC front office has been one of the best in basketball for the last 12 years since they got Kevin Durant. It's, of course, they have the biggest mistake maybe in basketball in that time with the Harden trade. But other than that, they've been almost flawless. They have not let that team bottom out, and that is with getting the worst luck in NBA basketball from a front office standpoint. KD leaves. You trade Harden, whatever. Westbrook leaves. You still find a way to get Chris Paul and Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and 5 first-round picks.
Whole shitload of picks, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, bravo to the Thunder. I know this is a little off topic. Bravo to them just for the last decade of what they've done. It's been beautiful. A small market in a state where nobody wants to live, and they still continue to do it. So kind of building off that last question. Come the year 2025, who is the best player on any of the Detroit sports teams?
So that's 5 years from now.
So
seriously, it might be that kid that the Red Wings could take at number 1, and we would have no idea.
All right. Well, let's disclaimer for everybody at home: we have no fucking idea about the Red Wings draft. So
if you wanna jump into my DMs on any sort of social media thing and talk to me about the Red Wings, I will talk to you about the Red Wings.
I will listen. I would
because
love to.
I need to know more about the Red Wings, and it's kind of on me, and I'm gonna try to change it, but. If you want to talk to me about the Red Wings, I'll listen and ask questions.
So I think these are your choices, right? You got Spencer Torkelson. You got Casey Mize for the Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
For the Lions, you have Jeff Okuda, and you have maybe 35-year-old Matt Stafford if we're winning games over the next few years.
Dude, I was going to pick 35-year-old Matt Stafford.
For the Pistons, you have whoever we take this year and Sekou Doumbouya. And for the Red Wings, you have whoever we take this year, Mantha or Dylan Larkin. I think those are pretty much all your choices.
I like – okay, so I don't want to take Stafford because that's boring. Although I think logically Stafford is the pick here.
I just think he'll be gone by then.
You don't think it could be DeAndre Swift?
Okay, we'll throw his name on the list. I like that. Is that your pick?
No, I'm taking Sekou because I want it. I'm picking what I want to happen. And I want Sekou to be an all-star.
So give me a Sekou stat/line 2025. So he's 24 years old. What is he averaging?
Okay, so I think he's going to be like this super weird, like 16, 7, and 8 type line. Like just a really with like a block and like a couple of steals. I think he kind of is going to resemble like a really good Draymond Green game stat line. I think that's kind of what I see for him. If everything goes the way in my heart, I hope it happens.
Man, imagine if he could do that and shoot 38% from 3 on 3 attempts a game. All of a sudden, that's like the best like third guy in the league. Like he's like the perfect third guy. I'm gonna go with Casey Mize.
Cool.
I think he's the most polished pitcher in all minor league baseball right now. I'm sorry, I keep waving my hand in front of my face. There is nobody who looks more confident on a mound in minor league baseball. There is nobody with a single better pitch than Casey Mize's splitter in minor league baseball. That is the single best pitch for a non-MLB player in the entire world right now, in my opinion. It's that good. It is that good. It will dominate MLB lineups once he gets here. He's going to get here if we play this year, he might be here this year. If not, next year, he's in the starting rotation on opening day. And he's going to be the leader of a team. He's going to be the first one of many that will follow him, that are going to create this new generation of Tigers baseball. And the thing that a lot of people say about Casey Mize is we know he's going to be really good, but we don't know he's going to be great. He's kind of one of those guys who you don't know how high the ceiling is. And let me tell you, with a pitch like that splitter and a mid-90s fastball with great control and the other off-speed stuff, he has a chance to be a Cy Young contender for as long as he wants to be. He's not overpowering. He's not going to throw his arm off his shoulder. He's not doing too much with his curveball or his slider, so he's not going to screw up his elbow. It's a splitter, which is all arm action, a fastball, which is all arm action, and then some off-speed stuff he works in when necessary. It's the idea that he knows how to pitch more than everybody else his age. He understands the art, and that's what it is. So, it's an art.
Who is his like current pitcher comp? What's the
Aaron Nola? I would say Aaron Nola for Philadelphia is a really good one.
Nice.
Who has been really, really good. He had a little bit of a slower start to his career. He wasn't dominant right away. But if you look at his stat line from 2 years ago, he was third place in the Cy Young voting, threw for 200-plus innings, had a 2.5 ERA, and struck out 225 guys. And none of it is overpowering guys. He's not throwing 99 like so many of these young guys are. It's perfect mechanics. It's understanding when and where to throw a baseball and understanding how to fool guys. all it is a battle of wits when you're at the baseball plate. Mm-hmm. Every guy in that league knows how to get the bat to where they need it pretty much every time. It's all a guessing game, and the more you can guess what a guy's doing, the better you can succeed against him. Casey Mize doesn't let you guess because you never know what's coming, and that showed. He came up for his first Double-A start last year. What'd he do? Threw a no-hitter. Rubbed the dirt off his shoulder, got back in the dugout, came back the next week, almost did it again. So he's special, man. He's just that good, and we're going to see him soon. We're going to see him soon, and I'm just going to throw this out there because why not? When we do see him, he's winning Rookie of the Year.
Ooh, good. Yeah. I like that. I hope you're right. I think the stuff, all the stuff I've seen from him, I've seen kind of through you. But the stuff I've seen, he looks pretty incredible.
Did you see, switching topics here, did you see, and we'll put it up here for you, gray bearded LeBron?
I saw a photo of some small child.
It's his daughter, Zuri.
Doing his hair. Yeah. Does he have a daughter? I thought you just had sons. I wasn't sure.
No, his daughter's like 4, I think. Zuri.
Yeah, that would be about what it was. He has a gray beard.
So here's my thought.
On the gray.
Here's my thought on the gray beard. It is October 12th. Game 7 of the NBA Finals has just concluded. LeBron James and Anthony Davis beat Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks 109-107. They're standing on the podium in the center of the court after the game. LeBron gets handed his finals MVP, perhaps his finals MVP. He raises it in the air, and it's a picture of 36-year-old LeBron, gray beard, with his young team and Anthony Davis behind him, holding up this NBA Finals picture, and it becomes the most iconic picture in NBA history because of the gray, strictly because of the gray.
I don't know if anything could ever pass some of those Michael Jordan photos of him, like when he's like doing the thing, he's like holding it, looking at it. But I love it. That would be like a really nice way to end that series of television. And then we get the reboot where the main characters are Giannis and Luka.
Yes, exactly. So I don't know why the picture of him holding a finals MVP with an almost all gray beard is like the coolest idea ever to me, but I absolutely love it. Idea.
Just real nice. I mean, I guess he'll probably play a few years after that still, but if you win finals MVP, aren't you playing for at least 3 more years? The thing about LeBron is he's never even looked like there hasn't even been a small adjustment in his role or the way, like, there's he started the third act, that Andre Iguodala role player thing.
He integrated his old man game while he still had his young man game, which is why old man LeBron is so terrifying. But speaking of LeBron, I don't know if you saw this or not. The Miami Heat will save up caps in hopes to add either Giannis or LeBron in 2021. Now, when I saw the thing about Giannis, it was that they wanted to pair him with Victor Oladipo and Jimmy Butler, which I think is weird and not what you want to do. But if you can get Giannis, you get him. Do they have a chance at either of those guys?
Yeah, I think they'll have a shot at Giannis for sure. I think that Giannis will be open for bids. If you're New York, if you're either of the LA teams, if you're Golden State, if you're Miami, I mean, players love playing in Miami, right? That's kind of become almost, I think, the new Spurs in terms of culture and the way that organization is run. That would be so cool. I don't know. I like LeBron going back to Miami, but I for some reason in my gut, I feel like he's just going to be a Laker because it just makes sense for him.
The only way he leaves LA, in my opinion, is if Bronny gets drafted somewhere and he wants to go play with him for a year.
So he's already talked, and you have a shot at Bron Jr., if you have to pick him 5 picks early, don't you just take him?
Bronny will go 5-10 picks earlier than he should, no matter what. Matter what. Now I'm stuck between a rock and a hard place with Giannis, because eventually I want him to leave Milwaukee. I just don't want what is probably, in my opinion at least, going to be the greatest player of this next generation. I don't want that guy to be stuck in small market Milwaukee. No matter how much people love that he played for one team and it's a small market and he's loyal. Stop. Why do you care? Who cares? Like, he's going to play for a small market team that's not going to be able to put the best team around him consistently throughout his whole career, right? So it might not be as bad as LeBron's first Cleveland stint where he's running with Larry Hughes and Daniel Boobie Gibson and Big Z. but it's not going to be a place where you're going to be able to go say, hey, Paul George, hey, Kawhi, hey, Anthony Davis, whenever you need to. And a player like this in the super team era, which, by the way, I don't think will ever end. We're in the super team era permanently now. You can't play in Milwaukee. You just can't. That's the rock, right? And the hard place is, please don't go to Miami, Giannis. Their fans are the worst. They are the worst fans in basketball, the loudest, most uneducated, most annoying fans in basketball who don't understand the game. They hate LeBron now because he won him 2 out of 4 titles, and then was like, sorry, guys, I don't need you anymore. Sorry, he didn't need you. He didn't want to come to your half-full stadium 5 minutes into the first quarter to see one of the greatest teams of all time. Just don't go to Miami. Go anywhere else. I'd rather see him in a Magic uniform than I would in a Heat uniform. But leave Milwaukee, too. As long as it's not for Miami, we're cool.
You're just determined to get some DMs.
Oh, dude. Well, you know what? I'm not, I got to let them know sometimes.
I mean, I guess it's not Miami Heat Twitter's fault that they're like the worst NBA Twitter. Oops.
Oh, shit.
I slipped one in the back on him there.
And if you're curious, everybody at home, yes, 14-year-old me was part of Miami Heat Twitter when LeBron was there. But when he left, so did I. So, you know what? Deal with it.
Oh, I've been watching soccer is back and kind of in full force right now. The Premier League played for the first time today. The Serie A in Italy just started playing. Germany's been playing for a little while. Spain's been playing for a week or two. So I, in order to like get my sports fix, am now able to give like full on scouting reports on like Hellas Verona or Cagliari or like teams that frankly like don't even matter at all. So as a result of that, I've been watching a lot of like broadcasts, right? I've been thinking a lot about what I think works and what I think doesn't work. And I think it's going to surprise you when I say that not having crowd noise, even if it's fake, is way worse. You want that fake crowd noise. You want it because it's really, and the reasoning is you're just not going to be able to hear as much as you think you're going to be able to. They're not gonna mic everybody up. They're gonna be, it's just gonna be quiet. You're gonna hear shoes squeaking and a guy kind of basically announcing the sport like it's golf.
See, that's where I have trouble with it, because if I'm watching something like football or basketball, I'm screaming the whole time anyways. I don't hear the announcers. I don't hear the fans. I'm yelling at my TV. So I don't think it mattered as much to me there. But with like basketball or soccer even maybe, where I'm a little bit more locked in, trying to read the field, trying to see every little, the tiniest things that are happening, because I think that's more important in those two sports. I feel like it could be an issue. And hearing you say that for you it has been so far. Now, is it an issue from the entertainment only, or just like, I don't know how to word this, just how so it just makes the game less enjoyable for you as a whole when it's monotone announcers and they don't have anything to feed off of and everything down those lines?
The energy just isn't there. It affects like the energy not only of like the game, I feel like, but also of the viewing experience in a way that I really wasn't expecting. Soccer is a sport that has played plenty of games with no fans for various reasons. Or if you're watching like the English second tier or whatever, like those are professional teams that don't play with full stadiums. And those games are on TV all the time. So you can watch those. And so I thought that I'd be ready for a low fan experience, but it just matters, man. It just matters. It affects the how interesting it is.
I feel that. So do you think now, have any of the games you watched had fake crowd noise yet?
Yeah, definitely. The German league in particular has, I think, gotten to a point where they've even been able to kind of play with like reacting live to what's happening. So if a guy hacks a guy, they'll boo or whatever. And I think that that's actually, even if it's fake, they're even the CGI crowd has been interesting too. I actually don't hate the CGI crowd. The way that they did it was, at least this is more of a soccer thing, but they'll do these like big giant pictures of things where everybody has like a square that they hold and you put it together like a puzzle and it creates like the team logo. They basically just do like those, but solid color, and it like kind of waves around. And it's, the goal, I think, with it is just to have a moment or two where you forget that there's no fans in the audience. And that illusion can be made. There were moments where I forgot that I wasn't watching, that there wasn't anybody there,
So I saw something interesting today pertaining to that. I'm trying to find it right now because I believe it was the NFL where they wanted to set up something where you essentially react into your phone. Everybody at home reacts into their phone, and that gets pumped into the stadium. And that to me sounds like either the wildest, stupidest idea I've ever heard or the most brilliant idea I've ever heard in my life, because it keeps the realism. It keeps the fans invested. I can see myself staring at my TV, running my hands through my fingers, eyes looking like this, and I'm screaming into my phone the whole time. But then I can also see Twitter organizing let's say inappropriate crowd noises into the stadium in mass quantities.
We just saw at the president's rally that large groups of people can do very interesting things these days and affect live events in ways that we maybe weren't anticipating was possible. That's the only political comment I want to make on that. But we've seen that people can really make that stuff haywire. Wasn't there, they did like a thing once on the internet where they were going to name a boat and they ended up naming it Bodie McBoatface because that was what won? Right? I think we could have a Bodie McBoatface happen live on an NFL broadcast. And the NFL, the even slightest whiff of a hint of risk or embarrassment.
Cut. It's cut.
So
I would name my boat Bodie McBoatface with no outside help. So.
I know that this is going to seem obvious, but another thing that I was still surprised by was the first game that every team has played so far has been absolutely horrible. The second game is much better, but the first game, you cannot take anything from that because every single one of those players is readjusting themselves. You can't simulate a live game.
And soccer just flew through. American sports right now are very concerned with the injuries coming back and getting players in shape. Soccer did it quick. I mean, they were concerned with it, but they had a plan in place, agreed to a plan, and most of these leagues were back 2 weeks later. I mean, it was quick.
In general, I would say that Europe has been a little more organized than we have been with some of this stuff. Again, the only political statement that I'm making is it seems like they've certainly been better organized and they've been faster to the jump.
If you get two political statements, I get one, and that's shout out K-pop stans.
Oh, yeah. What a weird, crazy nonsense.
And TikTokers.
You guys can look up that one will let people go and do their own research into.
Figure that one out. You'll enjoy the research that you do.
This is kind of an interesting one.
Our FIFA team's coming together, bud.
Yeah.
Chelsea signed Timo Werner, huh?
Chelsea did sign Timo Werner. They've got a few guys that we pulled together. We put together a team once when we were living together that the core of it was a Timo Werner, Christian Pulisic Chelsea team. And oops, there we are,
Who's our other wing? Vinicius?
No, not originally.
All right. Well, we'll have to figure out who that is, and then we need to start writing strongly worded letters to whoever the hell owns Chelsea to sign that man, because we won titles. That's all I'm saying is we won titles. But from our real life, not sitting in our living room playing FIFA aspect, how good of a fit is this?
Timo Werner at Chelsea?
Yep.
It's a pretty good fit. They also signed Hakim Ziyech from Ajax, who's going to kind of come in and play like the 10 attacking mid role for them. I will say this, it shouldn't affect Christian Pulisic very much. It'll affect everybody. I think the person that affects the most is Tammy Abraham, who I thought played really well, quite frankly, in this before the season shut down.
How old is he now?
I don't know. He's like 21 or 22, I think. Okay. it seems like this is kind of I think Chelsea's going to be really good next year. I think Chelsea's going to be monstrous next year. They're going to score a ton of goals. They might let in a bunch of goals, but they're going to score a ton of goals.
Yeah, and they have plenty of time to work on that defense. This core is going nowhere.
Just deep as hell on offense too. I mean,
and everybody's under 25. It's crazy.
Yeah, Mason Mount is. I don't know what's going to happen. So Chelsea played today, and they were playing Aston Villa, and they play Man City in like a day or two, I think. So they kind of played a pretty heavily rotated squad. But even still, did we sign Ruben Loftus-Cheek to our Chelsea?
Wait, I thought he already played there. Now? Oh, I thought he's played there.
Maybe you might be right about that. So good week. Pulisic did come on today, by the way, and score, and then have like a hockey assist for the other.
He's got to be right there. He's got to be right there to being like the starter, right? He's like right there.
I think so. I think he's either like one of the last starters or the first guy off the bench right now.
Just like stay healthy for a month and a half, dude. Just stay healthy for a month and a half, and you're in.
I saw Tyler Adams go in at like full speed, bone crunching tackle on Mats Hummels the other day, and I was, you know how parents are like, I just wish my son wouldn't play goalie when they play sports. That was how, because they're gonna get injured or whatever, they're gonna get kicked in the face. That was how I felt watching Tyler Adams go in mano a mano in the box with Mats Hummels, who's like a 6'2" German center back who is no joke.
No, one of the best in the world.
It's a great weekend for American soccer. It was great.
Just please stay healthy, guys. Every American player who's under 24, just try to stay healthy for a month. I don't think I've ever seen any of you do it.
Soccer, and especially young soccer players, are statistically more prone to injuries, I think, than almost any other sport player combination. Even like basketball, or really, it's like football linemen, the way they go down.
It's just you're taking the endurance needed from like cross country and adding in the physicality of most other sports, and it's just your body isn't really made to be able to be dehydrated and also running 6 miles in a game. It's just
Gio Reyna played today too, or this weekend too. Had his first start against RB Leipzig, and it was great. He had a great assist.
Good. I
don't know what position he is. Gio Reyna might be. I have no idea.
That's a good problem. That's not a bad problem. That's a great problem. And we've learned that through all sports the last 10 years. We talked about it earlier in the show with combo guards, right? If a guy can play multiple positions, that just means he can play multiple positions. It doesn't mean that he's bad at the other ones. He is good at a lot of them. So eventually he'll find a spot. But until then, let him get good at the different skills for every different position and become a well-rounded, perfect future of American soccer to go along with the eagle soaring Christian Pulisic.
We'll have to see. There are a bunch of American players this year too who I think are going to have to change clubs. So we'll have to see kind of what that looks like too. I think that there will be some movement of some kind for some teams. I don't know. I mean, the soccer transfer window is going to be weird. It's going to be.
Who's got money? I'm sure there's some teams that just don't.
$100 already.
Yeah, because I'm sure there's some teams that are just like, we're not spending money this year. We've lost too much as is. You got anything else? Because I got one more thing.
Nope.
Okay, then I will leave you and everybody at home with this. We, in the last couple weeks, have got the announcement of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remastered. And the other day, we got the announcement, finally, Skate 4 has come back to the PS5, probably. Which one? Which one is going to be your game? Tony Hawk Pro Skater Remastered?
Skate 4.
Easy. It's so much better. It's so much better. I mean, they had like PS4 style physics mechanics on Skate 3 and Skate 2 back in like the early PS3 days. This is going to be the best skateboarding video game ever made, and everything else will just pale in comparison.
Skate 3, one of the all-time greatest video games to play under the influence of certain substances.
Yes. You ever play, what was the game mode where you just jumped off the top of the building and broke as many bones? Hall of Meat.
Yep.
The Hall of Meat. So Skate 4, it's announced, it's coming back. We should talk. I
wasn't expecting to talk about Skate 4 today. That's
cool.
I
think it pertains to sports, and even if it didn't, fuck it. So, all right. Well, with that, I'm Andrew Norris. This is the producer, Double P producer Parker. Shout out to the Undertaker. Sounds like the career is finally officially over, and we will leave you here with the fun sports clip of the week.
what's going to happen, Kobe.